before I kickstart the viewer queries, please note that you need to mention your name, also the time horizon that you're looking for your investments, as well as the accurate stock name. And also we will be taking, we'll be sticking to one company or one query per person, since we wish to take as many queries as possible. So let's get going with the queries. This one is from Mr. Balan, saying, is it good to continue in the oil and gas sector? He has 300 shares each of Oil India, ONGC as well as GAIL with above 15% profit. So he wants to know whether he should stay put or look to switch to other sector. Gaurang, does it make sense for someone who has holdings in the oil and gas sector to continue to remain in the sector, invested in the sector, or should he look to diversify?
So Cheryl, we remain positive on both oil exploration companies and oil marketing companies, and along with that, I think the renewed interest in the clean and green energy front, that is gas related companies and sector, we remain extremely positive. So starting with ONGC, Oil India and GAIL amongst the oil exploration companies, we remain positive. We are positive on all the three oil marketing companies, that is HPCL, BPCL and IOC. And the space that I mentioned last, that is the gas sector, especially companies like Mahanagar Gas, Petronet LNG, IGL, Gujarat Gas, Gujarat State Petronet. Our sense is that all three sectors look quite promising, and definitely the consumption that is likely to go up is going to throw up a lot of positivity in terms of earning visibility.
Coming back to you, we've got Sudeep asking a question, Gaurang, on Delta Corp, bought at levels of 160. He's asking if we should hold on to this as a long-term investment opportunity.
So Alex, it's an interesting play, and I don't think there is any weird comparison amongst the listed universe that at least I know of. This is also one of those sectors which fall first in case if the situation with respect to this pandemic, that is COVID-19, aggravates and we have the third wave, impacting the activity, and there is restrictions being imposed. Unfortunately, I won't comment directly buy, sell and hold since we don't have a coverage, but it is definitely a very interesting play, especially for those investors who have high risk appetite.
This one is from Mukesh Yadav, and this one is from on Z. He's basically asking, kindly tell me more about Z Entertainment. So, Gaurang, would you be able to speak on Z?
Yes, Cheryl.
I'm not sure what Mukesh is exactly looking at when, yeah.
So we have coverage on Z Entertainment, and we remain positive. It used to be one of the niche players, especially the regional content channels are concerned. It has got a bouquet of channels to offer, has got well diversified portfolio as well. And recently there is some news flow of one of the leading media houses in negotiation with Z Group for a potential merger or a buyout. Of course, these are all news on the street. Nothing has been confirmed from either of the media houses. There were concerns in the past with respect to certain news flow, but all that is now being in the past and has been discounted in the price as well. So if you invested in Z from a long-term point of view, stay invested, and if you wanting to make a fresh investment, then I think dip closer to 200 would be a comfortable zone to get into, but you need to have at least 1.5 to 2 year time frame.
Alright, we've got Indumati who's asking about MMTC. Her purchase price is 56 and she's looking for the short-term prospects of this stock. Kunal, coming to you on this one.
It looks attractive on the charts, even though the stock has gone through a bit of a drubbing, but many of its other peers like Dredging Corp, SBI India, etc., they have been looking quite strong. MMTC is going through a bit of a consolidation, but the charts on the longer term basis are very attractive. So it's a matter of question that when would the consolidation end? because whenever that would happen, I would be of the belief that MMTC could be one of the few stocks which can break out significantly higher and even cross about that 775 mark as well. So the potential is very high. We've seen strong volume participation in the last 5-6 months. The question is when will the stock come out of this consolidation and then give a breakout on the upside? That remains to be a point to think about. But chart patterns are quite attractive. So if you bought at levels of 55, 56 approximately, stock is trading very close to those kind of levels. I would suggest a hold on MMTC.
Okay, this next query is from Bharat, and he's saying he has Tata Consumers which he's purchased at 620 rupees per share, but he wants to buy some more for a long-term investment. He wants to know, is it a good level to enter Tata Consumers? Kunal, what's your take? At what level should Bharat look to enter Tata Consumers? He wants to add on to his exposure for the longer term.
So I think Tata Consumers is a stock which should be kept from a longer term view. So it's good that the viewer has bought at lower levels of 600-ish and is still holding on to the stock about those 700 levels. I believe, over the next 1 or 2 years, possibly the stock can even try and touch that 4-digit mark as well. So the prospects on the longer term basis are quite attractive. Now, when you're looking with that kind of a time span and with that kind of a target range, I believe any short term correction which comes along the way, a 5%, 10% correction, for example, which comes along the way for stocks like Tata Consumers, should be taken as good. The relative position of the strength of the stock, and any 5% to 10% correction into the stock, I think should be a good opportunity to try and average it out further.
Question on Reliance Industries, and this is from Neeraj. It's a short-term query, relatively. He's got 200 shares at 2,120, and he's looking at the one-year prospects. Kunal, what do you have to say for him?
See, I think from that kind of a time frame, I believe that it makes sense to hold on to Reliance Industries, even though the stock has been in the thick of news flow, grappling out with a lot of the events around surrounding it. But I believe that the prospects for Reliance Industries are quite robust on the long term basis, and I think with that kind of a time frame, you can expect that the stock can break out of that big resistance of 2,300 plus levels in the medium to long term. So I would suggest a hold on Reliance Industries, and I think with a modest kind of a time frame of 6 months to 1 year plus, you can expect at least a 2,350 to 2,400 ish kind of a target range, if not more.
Okay. This one is coming in from Tarun. He's asking whether he should buy Orient Electric at current levels around 290 rupees per share for better risk reward in the short term. What's your take, Kunal, on Orient Electrics? Can he buy at current levels or around 290 rupees per share levels?
I think 290 could be a better bet for Orient Electric. It's a stock which is consolidating. It's a stock which is very low beta. It's a stock which has seen very dry periods of volumes at times. So when you're looking at such kind of name and such kind of a stock price pattern, it's far more important to try and buy the stock when you see significant declines or these stocks coming back to their mean reversal process. For example, the 50-day moving average for Orient Electric right now is at 295 to 99 kind of level. So I think if the stock happens to come back to that kind of a territory, then it makes a good sense to try and buy it out further. So I would suggest that if you're looking to enter, then I think wait for that 290, 295 kind of a zone.
Gaurang, we've got Shushrit, who's got 35,000 rupees invested in the likes of BOB, Canara Bank and Union Bank. He's wondering whether he should consolidate all of that and which stock should he consolidate in. He mentions that he has SBI and ICICI which he plans to hold.
I think it's a good thought, Alex, and with the merger process with respect to Canara Bank and Union Bank, of course we had Bank of Baroda also get into that process a while back, wherein you had Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank merging into Bank of Baroda, if I recollect right. So if you're wanting to consolidate your investments, then the two preference that we have amongst the PSU universe is SBI and Bank of Baroda, and if I had to pick one, it would be SBI. And amongst the private player, he already has ICICI Bank. I think it would be wise enough to consolidate and buy more of ICICI Bank from a long-term point of view.
Okay, this one is coming in from Divya and she wants to know the correct level to invest in IDFC First Bank for the next 4 to 5 years. Kunal, what sort of a level should Divya look at while investing in IDFC First Bank for the longer term?
I'm very bullish on the stock IDFC First Bank, and the kind of breakout the stock had shown 5-6 months back around those levels of 37 or 38, if I'm not wrong, to be precise. I think that was a very strong indication that a long-term structure has been changed for the stocks. We've seen the stock doing exceptionally well. It hit a level of I think 69 or 70 as well, just about a few months back. So the rally has been quite strong. The breakout has been quite formidable, and it generally indicates that the stock is now trying to reset a long-term uptrend for itself. So I think with that kind of a time frame and that kind of a target range and the trends in perspective, I believe corrections like what you're seeing right now should be taken as good opportunity. So 3-4 months back the stock was available at 69, 70ish kind of levels, and now the stock is at 53 or 52 kind of a mark. So it's already at a significant discount of more than 20-25% from its major swing highs. So that should be a good opportunity where you can look to start at current levels and then wait for maybe further corrections if it comes along the way as a good averaging opportunity.
Okay, we've got Sapna who's asking about APL Apollo Pipes and Polycab as two options for long-term investments, Gaurang. Would you suggest that she can buy at current levels?
Strong companies fundamentally with relatively stronger balance sheet. But since we don't have a coverage, Alex, can't say directly buy, sell and hold, but I think both are fundamentally quite strong.
I want to then go across to Kunal, if I may. Kunal, if you have a view on either one of these, can you share whether they're looking attractive on the charts?
So both of these stocks are looking very attractive on the charts, Alex. But this is specifically from a longer term view. Now the worry for for example, for stock like APL Apollo or Apollo Pipes, for example, is that the liquidity is a bit more, I would say, inconsistent as compared to the other stock which you mentioned. So I think in that aspect, I would suggest that maybe have a wait and watch approach for the stock. If you see maybe another 10 to 15% correction in in either of these names, I think that should be taken as a good opportunity to buy. So long term wise looks attractive. Polycab, for example, I think the stock, if I'm not wrong, was just about in touching distance of breaking that 2000 mark as well sometime a few days ago, and the stock is just hovering around those levels, 1970, 1975 odd. So both these stocks are quality, but I would suggest that wait for at least a 10% correction before you start chipping in from a longer term view.
Query is coming in from Jasmeet and wants to know about a good level to enter into SBI Cards for the next 2 to 3 years investment time frame. Kunal, what sort of a level should Jasmeet look at for SBI Cards?
The stock was in the thick of a lot of news flow last month, entire month of June, if I'm not wrong, where it had corrected from I think 1150 levels to sub 900 as well at one point of time. So it's bounced back from those levels. Typically, when you're looking at such kind of names, a 10 to 15% corrections at least from the major swing highs should be taken as good opportunity. So that comes to closer to 950, 960 for SBI Cards. So it's a good long-term stock, but I think closer to 950, 960 is where you can look to start buying the stock, and then look at significant amount of corrections along the way as a good further averaging opportunity.
Okay, coming to you, Gaurang, I'm hoping you have a view on this. Atul is the company that I'm talking about. Sagar's got this and he's been holding for the last several years. He bought 2,000 shares at 400 levels, and he's asking if there are any negative factors which can impact the stock in the medium to long term. Do you have coverage?
We definitely have coverage, Alex, and I don't see any kind of negativity either in the short, medium or long term. And more so, Alex, I think the levels at which this investor has got invested in, even if there are any negativity, I think the management is capable enough to overcome. And like I was mentioning, the levels at which the investor has bought, I think he should be rest assured and sleep well at night.
this one is coming on from Padma and wants to know that she wants to buy 500 shares each of Zensar Tech and Subex Systems at current levels for trading short term. Wants to know which one should she look at, or is it advisable for investing in these two stocks? Kunal, what's your take? Zensar Tech and Subex, does it make sense to go ahead and invest at current levels for short term?
Subex is a bit of a tricky stock. I don't track it that closely, so will not recommend anything on that as such. But for Zensar Tech as well, I think it's been an interesting chart. The last few months specifically, the stock has seen some accelerated price action. YTD, from a year-to-date perspective as well, it's given a big breakout about that 240 levels, up some 37 or 38% so far in the first 6 months of this year. So far, it looks very attractive, and I think these are the kind of stocks which you can look at it from a longer-term view. So, I think it is a 5-year breakout for Zensar Tech, if I'm not wrong, from 2015 to 2020 odd. The stock was in this band. 240 was a major resistance, and we've seen the first level of breakout today, this time for Zensar Tech this year. So this now stands to be a good longer-term stock, and you can start buying at current levels. And I think any kind of a mean reversion process, which typically takes place around this 50-day moving average for such kind of names, should be taken as good averaging opportunity.
Okay, Akash Raj is asking about Redington India, Kunal, and this is now, I'm assuming that he's asking on the charts because he's asking whether he should sell it at this point. He's got 300 shares that he got in at levels of 251. Should he book profits?
Well, a tough one because I think he's bought at a good price. The worry for the stock on the charts, Alex, is that because of the steep run, the indicators have come back into an overbought territory. For example, I was looking at the RSIs on the monthly charts. The RSIs have hit back towards levels of 86, 87 odd for Redington. So I think purely on that aspect, you can you can probably look at some short-term corrections. But when stocks break out of their multi-year resistances, it requires a very high reading from momentum indicators, because that has to be supported. The breakout has to be supported with a lot of the momentum indicators doing pretty well. So it looks attractive from a longer term view, but purely as a juggling, as a short term juggling, you can look to book out profits at current levels. But I would suggest that relook the stock if you happen to see any kind of a correction along the way. So if the stock corrects by say another 10% from current levels, then I believe that you should look to start chipping in again, because the long-term structure for stocks like Redington, etc., have improved significantly, and they look very attractive from a longer-term view.
Okay, this one is an email query coming in from Yatin Kapoor. He's saying he's bought shares of SAIL at an average price of 132 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should continue to hold on to this particular counter for the longer term. Gaurang, what should Yatin do? Hold on to SAIL for the longer term?
So overall on the metal universe, we remain positive, but for the specific stock SAIL, I think from the levels of 60 or sub 60 to where the stock is trading at about 122, the run up was quite significant. My advice would be that any levels closer to maybe 135, 140, you can possibly exit, book profits, because that's where we have our target on the fundamental side. And if you want to redeploy your capital in the metals universe, then pick Tata Steel or JSW Steel. Either of these stock could be a good long-term bet.
Okay, we've got a question on Neuland Laboratories, and it seems like the viewer has gotten at slightly elevated levels, Gaurang. So the question is, should you hold on? I believe the entry price was upwards of 2,600 or thereabouts. Should you hold on is the question.
Well, the sector has been buzzing, Alex, and I think it will be in the spotlight for a pretty long period of time. And this counter specifically, if you actually go to see, volumes are pretty dry on both NSE and BSE. In terms of earning visibility, well, I think there is going to be good scope for improvement going forward from here on. If you're not in a hurry and if you have time by your side, then continue your investment.
The next query that we have is from Nivin, saying that he's bought IGL at 450 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should hold or sell this particular account. Kunal, what's your take coming in on IGL?
It looks very attractive. I think many of these gas stocks, IGL, MGL, they've managed to come back to their multi-year, multi-month highs, and strength has been quite visible and seen into the stock quite consistently. So IGL, I remember, I think just about last week or the week prior to that, it was trading closer to 500, 510 odd mark. And in just a matter of 1 week, 10 days, you saw almost a 10 to 15% rally in the stock coming back towards 575, 570 kind of mark. So that's a sign of a strength in terms of stocks. And I believe such are the kind of names which one can look at even from a momentum trading perspective. So bullish on the gas stocks, specifically IGL and MGL.
Okay, we've got a short-term query on Ircon, and this is for you, obviously, Kunal. Ashwin's saying that he's got 800 shares, but unfortunately, he's not told us what level he's bought at. What are the short-term prospects for this stock?
Well, not much. I think it's been just about a sideways trending stock. Not much of a trend as such from 2020 start. So not just 2021, but 2020 start. Ircon has been trading in a range 52, 53 is the upper end of trading range for the stock, and closer to 40, 42 is where you see support coming out for the stock on a broader basis. So not much of a trend, and difficult to anticipate that something immediate could probably change in the stock in the near term. So I would suggest that you can look to exit if it's a very short term related kind of a time frame, and look out for maybe trading into some other quality large cap names, or maybe into the banking stocks, because I believe banking stocks are in the thick of strong momentum. So you can look at some of the stocks in that category.
Coming in from Ajay, and he's saying that he has 251 shares of Jyothy Laboratories, which he's purchased at 167 rupees per share. He's saying that the stock is unable to surpass the 187 levels. So he wants to know whether he should go ahead and book profits now and re-enter at a higher level and hold the stock for the longer term. He wants a fundamental view on Jyothy Laboratories. So Gaurang, this one is for you. How does this counter look? Does it make sense for Ajay to stay put on this holding?
Definitely, yes, Cheryl, and from being a traditionally south-based company, I think in the past 2 to 3 years, the company has managed to, create inroads pan-India. They have not only continued with their product offering and strong brands, but they have added to their offerings as well with newer launches. Our sense is that over the next year and a half too, because of their reach pan-India, I think the contribution on the top line and bottom line should increase significantly. You need to have patience getting invested into stocks like Jyothy Laboratories. So stay invested and give it some time.
All right, we've got an interesting question coming in from Shiva, and this one's for you, Gaurang. It's a little open-ended, but what tire stock would you invest in for the long term?
I think without a tire, you can't even ride a bicycle, Alex, and it's one of the most core inputs as far as making a safe vehicle is concerned. We remain extremely positive on all the tire manufacturing companies, starting with MRF, CEAT, Apollo, JK Tires, Balkrishna Industries. And what excites us going forward is that the new launches which are lined up by various two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler commercial vehicle manufacturing companies throws in improved visibility in terms of earnings. And along with that, Alex, you have a huge replacement market as well. The only thing that you have to watch out for is the rubber prices in the commodity market. But even over there, in case if the rubber prices have to go up to a certain extent, these companies are well placed to pass on any kind of increase to the end consumer like you and me. So, choice is yours. The universe is quite open.
Right, with that we come to an end of the query segment, but time for high risk and low risk ideas. And Kunal, what's your idea for the viewers?
So 2 buy calls. The first one is about HDFC Limited. I think this stock as well is inching towards a breakout of a double bottom pattern on the hourly charts. So something very interesting, and the market requires a lot of large caps to fire up. So I'm hoping even HDFC Limited could probably get back into the line of a breakout mode. So suggest a buy. Targets of 2,600, stop us at 2,480. The second stock is a buy on ICICI Securities. I've been bullish on the stock. In fact, in the morning as well, I'd given a fresh buy call on ICICI Securities, expecting the stock to move up significantly higher. It started to move up again, inching closer to that 730, 725 plus mark. Now I believe that the stock should head towards 780 over the near term. So would suggest a positional call. Targets of 780, stop us at 700 on ICICI Securities.
Hey Gaurang, I'm sorry I missed out one query. If you can give me a one-line answer for this, it'll do, because you've already spoken about banks. Vijay wants to know whether he should sell his investment in HDFC Bank and switch entirely to ICICI Bank for the next 5 years. And then please tell us your high-risk and low-risk ideas.
This is a devil in the deep blue sea, Alex. Be positive on both HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank. I don't think you have to be any kind of rush. In fact, I would go to the extent to say that it's an SIP stock, HDFC Bank, and all the 4 companies in the HDFC group, HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank, HDFC Life, HDFC AMC. But don't be in a hurry to move over to ICICI Bank. Stay invested, and if you have additional capital, you can get invested in ICICI Bank. As far as the stock ideas are concerned, well, BEL, Navratna Enterprise, largely focused into defense, and from levels of maybe 90 or 100, in the last year and a half, the stock has managed to significantly move up on earning visibility. 17,000 odd crores worth of order book, great capability and capacity in place, along with expertise into high-end technology, precise products manufacturing as far as defense sector is concerned. So targeting about 220 on BEL. And the next one is, we spoke at length on Tata Motors and along with that on tire sector. So as a brokerage house, we remain extremely positive on auto ancillary as well as auto manufacturing companies. So Ashok Leyland, which is a pure commercial play, is definitely a good investment bet. Currently at about 120, 125. Medium to long term targets at 145. And in case if the CV segment scrappage policy rolls out as expected by next year, 1st April 2022, then all these targets tend to get revised in case if the earnings improve, Alex.
With that, we come to an end of this particular segment. Thank you, Kunal, as well as Gaurang, for joining us on the show, giving us a take on Tata Motors, resolving viewer queries, and of course, sharing your high-risk and low-risk ideas with our viewers. And on that note, we'll slip into a break in this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. But stay tuned, more on the other side, so don't go anywhere.
With over 18 years of experience,